Okay, so I told you guys that I was going to use the application Link, which is the application, the language learning application of the very famous polyglot Steve Kaufman. I love this app. It is my favorite language learning app. I think it is much better, much better than Duolingo, for example, or something like that. So I started using Link for my Portuguese. Up here you can see the amount of words that I have learned. So in the more or less 10 days that I have been using this app, I've learned 521 words, okay? Now, a lot of these words I already knew because of Spanish or because of French, but I have also learned a lot of important words that will help me be able to speak Portuguese. So I did guided courses. This one had 10 lessons, getting started. I did all of those. There are greetings, es como saludar a alguien. There was 8 lessons here. I did all of those. And there are mini stories. A ver. ¿Dónde están? Okay, so here are the mini stories. And I am about to start the 20th mini story. So I've been reading a lot on this app, and it is incredible. So what I do is I read the story, check out all the words, and then after I have read it, después, I listen.
Minhas batatas fritas. História 19. Caio está fazendo uma pausa na escola.
Okay, so I read the story one time, and then I read it again de nuevo while I am listening to it in Portuguese, okay? So I'm getting so much input from this. Like I said, I have read so many different things. And another interesting thing that I have been doing is whenever I had a question in my head, I would look up an article in Portuguese. Let's see. Aqui, respirar mejor. It means to respirar mejor. So I was wondering ways, exercises that we could breathe better. So I decided to look up an article in Portuguese, and then I brought it over into Link, and I was able to read it in Portuguese, and there were tons of good vocabulary in this. And that's what I've been doing whenever I wanted to read about something. I would search for it in Portuguese. I looked up the benefits of doing yoga. I have a lot of time at work, okay? So I think about a lot of things. So I look up these articles in Portuguese, and then I read them here in Link. And as you can see, I have learned a lot of words, and I have consumed a ton of input. So that's one thing that I've been doing. Now I'll go to YouTube and show you what else. One of you guys recommended me this channel, and I started watching these. You could see. So I've watched eight. I watched 8 of his episodes, and yesterday in the car I was driving for an hour, and I listened to his podcast for an hour. So I've been consuming a lot of content in Portuguese. Every day I've gotten at least an hour in. Some days at work I got a little bit more. But I've been learning a lot. I haven't tried to speak yet, but I am starting to understand more and more and more. And as I have been learning, I've been taking little notes of interesting things that I've noticed. Differences between Spanish and Portuguese. And here's just a couple of the interesting things I wanted to share with you guys. So in Spanish, we say mucho y muy. There's a difference between mucho and muy. But in Portuguese, there is not that difference. You use muito or muita. You use that same word, whether you want to say muchos o muy, mucho o muy, okay? No hay diferencia en portugués. Pensé que eso es interesante. There are 2 different forms of to be, como estar y ser, but there is not a difference in French. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. In French, there is only one to be, être. So I thought that was a little bit interesting. And instead of, this is another one that I noticed, me di cuenta, después de leer mil veces y pensar qué es eso. So in Spanish you say lo, los, las, but in Portuguese it's o, os, y as. So there's a lot of similarities between Spanish and Portuguese that are helping me a lot, but there's also these little differences that I have to notice and remember to be able to speak.